I've been and who I am, all the ways I've grown.
This isn't self-help, it's a full-on rebirth. Welcome to Girl Wake Up, the podcast for women who are done playing small, staying silent, or living by rules they never wrote. I'm Amy Polacco, journalist, divorce and life coach, and freedom warrior, and I'm here to help you take your power back. Because the system isn't going to save us. We need to save ourselves. So grab your coffee, your courage, and maybe a few curse words. It's time to wake up. Welcome to Girl Wake Up, everyone. I'm Amy Polacco, divorce coach and journalist. And I'm super excited for today's episode and the guest. This episode is part of my divorce success story series, where we spotlight women who prove that divorce is not the end of the story. It can be the beginning of a powerful reinvention. My guest today is Dee Dee Colabella. She is a powerhouse who has built an incredible creative life after divorce. I have known her, right, Dee Dee? Our kids went to a Montessori school together.
Yeah, and they're 19 now, so long time.
So I know we're feeling a little old, but that's okay. We're in our best chapter ever, right? Because they don't need us as much as they used to. But I want to tell everybody about Dee Dee. She is a Ridgefield, Connecticut entrepreneur. That's where I live, but her influence has gone way beyond this. She's an art gallery owner. She's got a mobile art gallery now she'll tell you about. She's the owner of this incredible 068 magazine, where she celebrates people, culture, style, and stories of our vibrant community. After divorce, she really reinvented her life. Went back to school. I can't wait for you to hear her story. You know, we were just laughing before we started recording that I think it was 3 years ago now, Dee Dee, that my support group came in person to one of your beautiful galleries and you spoke. I got such a reaction from the women that night. It was a really special night.
So sweet. Yeah.
Yeah. It was, we called it New Beginnings, right? And it was after the new year. And so I just wanted to bring your story to a national audience. I know you're there in your working gallery right now. You have your employees behind you. You have the beautiful art, which is incredible. So let's start with Dee Dee. Can you take us back to your divorce? Like, what did that chapter feel like for you?
Well, you know, it is very difficult to accept when you're in this situation, and the life that you've started to build with somebody or have built is now a house of cards. And, you know, it's now being pulled out right from under you. Everything's collapsing. And it was very difficult because the divorce was a surprise to me. It wasn't a surprise to the other half, but it was a surprise for me. So I had no idea how dysfunctional I was in the marriage and how dysfunctional the marriage was at that time. So it felt like the world was ending. And I think everybody definitely goes through a little bit of that, whether they're still in love or not, because you're mourning the death of your relationship and what you've built and what your life, you thought your life was going to look like. So it was extremely traumatic. I mean, I went through every emotion: anger, fear, depression. I kind of used to joke and say I spent so much time on my couch because I not only lost my marriage, but I lost part of the time with my kids through it. You know, they had to spend time with their father. And through that, I was no longer the 95% caregiver that I was before all this happened. All of a sudden, my time with them just dropped and hit, 50%. So I had so much time and I had no idea. So I used to sit on my couch trying to figure my life out and figure out what I was going to do next. And in that time, I learned to absolutely hate that couch. I ended up throwing out that couch. So
did you have a bonfire or something?
No, I did not do that, but I did have the junk guys come and take it and remove it, because that couch, I felt like every part of my depression was just sunk into that couch. So it had to go. And I got, a replacement couch and a lot happier. But that being said, it was probably one of the most traumatic times I've ever been through. I was at the time doing graphic arts from home, very irregularly. I didn't have any regular clients. I kept working, planning events here and there, but not anything regular. So I was not only losing, time with my kids, my husband, my marriage. I had no idea what to do with myself. And yeah, it was a really just scary time.
I'm sure that is resonating with so many women listening or watching this episode right now, because you hit the nail on the head. I think sometimes we are still in love with that person, but more often than not, what I see with my clients is that maybe the marriage has broken down, or it's been an abusive or unhealthy relationship that they start to see, but they're grieving the disillusion of the family, right? Like we all grow up wanting that Norman Rockwell family. And I always joke, in the town we live in that we love, Ridgefield, Connecticut, right? I was just out walking on Main Street this morning. We have these white picket fences, and you start thinking like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be the only divorced woman here. Like this is this cute little picture perfect town. Take us back to that moment.
Yeah, it's definitely hard because at the time I had younger children.
Right.
So I was not only dealing with, the embarrassment of telling my family, of telling my friends, our common friends, losing those bonds. But I was also dealing with telling all these other mothers who were, a lot of times very surface level, and everything looked very perfect and clean and wonderful in their lives. And I had to go and be like, yeah, my life's complete mess. See the, pile of junk over there. That's pretty much my life right now. And I'm not going to be pretty for a while, and I'm not going to be okay for a while. And, you go through a changing of guard as far as your friends, people who feel comfortable with you in a certain archetype as the mother and the wife. Then all of a sudden you're single mother or just single person floating out in the universe.
Right. And sometimes you get treated differently. I wrote an article a few years ago, and no news outlet I pitched it to would run it. And I thought it was good and funny about how single women are not invited a lot of times to like holiday parties, because it's like people don't want to get near divorce. They think it's like leprosy, or they're going to
exactly. You might catch it.
Or like I made this tongue in cheek like jokes about like, we're not after your husband.
Right. Oh,
that's
exactly.
The last thing we want.
Exactly. I mean, it definitely changes your relationship with the people you're close with at that time. And whatever that looks like. Now, it brought me closer to a few people in my life. And that support that they gave me during that time was so important to moving on and building now friendships that I couldn't even imagine being without. And they were more casual at the time. So as many people turn away from you, there's people who step into you and really understand that this isn't normal. This will change. You will get through it. And who you are during that dark period of trying to figure everything out is not representative of everything about you. And those are the people that you really you're so blessed to have those people in your life. And
that's such a great point.
What you do is amazing because you bring together people and, they're all going through the same thing. So they build a sense of community through that. I wish I would have had it.
Right. I have so many women say that to me. I wish I had you 10 years ago or 20 years ago or whenever. And I think you hit on something I say to my clients all the time, Dee Dee, is that your circle may get smaller, but it's going to be a tighter circle, right? You probably never forgot those people who were there for you no matter what. And some others, when they show, as Maya Angelou says, when they show you who they are, believe them. If they're judging you during a time like that, if they're gossiping about you. I had a friend start like conversing and calling and texting with my soon-to-be ex-husband. It was so bizarro.
Yeah.
But that showed me a lot about her. And I ended that friendship, right? And so it's like, it is a metamorphosis, wouldn't you say?
Yes, absolutely. And as many things are changing, there's everything is a step towards who you're going to be. Mm-hmm. So as scary as they are, as new as they are, whether, I think back to like my kids that are going to college now, that first day of college, that first day of a new school, or the first time you bring your, infant baby out to a dinner, all of those things are happening at that same kind of pace of everything's new. Everything is different. You don't recognize who you are in any space, but every step that you're taking leads you to become more comfortable in the new you, which it's a process, but it does happen.
Well, take us back to the yucky couch that you got rid of.
Yeah.
Like when you were sitting there, did you decide to go back to school? How did that all come together?
Well, I had an incident a couple years back where we almost got divorced. It was, again, something I didn't know about, but I found out about. And when I decided to take him back, I decided that it was a 50-50 chance that we'd make it in my mind. The saying, once a cheater, always a cheater, look, I get it. I was so hopeful. I had young kids, so I did go back to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I did say to myself, there's a 50-50 chance that this is going to happen again, if not better. So at that point, I had gone back to school to start taking lessons again. So I was already taking art classes when the second incident hit. And I said, yeah, there's no discussion. We're definitely getting divorced. Mm-hmm. Because, as they say, first time may be a mistake, second time is pattern, shame on me, at that point. So
I was just saying to a client yesterday, the biggest predictor of future behavior is past behavior, right?
Yeah.
And she was dealing with like a domestic abuse, like physical situation. I was scared for her.
Yeah. It's really, there were, a lot of people who say, well, there's successful relationships after something big like that. And if that is your situation, God bless. I'm so happy for you. Mm-hmm. Most people I know that have been in the same position end up where I am.
Yes.
And it's whether it's the woman, the man, I don't care. I'm not being, one way or another, but the injured party is never going to be the same, and the relationship is never going to be the same, and it just damages it.
Absolutely. So did you sign up for a degree at that point?
I was at the time auditing classes, and I thought I was going to go back to school to become an art teacher. So there's a master's that's a one track. It's called a one track. So you just had to have enough undergrad credits in the subject matter, and then you could go for an education degree with a specialization in art. Mm-hmm. So I was taking painting classes towards that end. When everything kind of blew up in my face. So I was getting the undergrad art credits, and I hadn't decided really where I wanted to be. But through that process, I had so much nervous energy. This was like what we talked about. I couldn't sleep. I was crying. I was ruminating. I was having conversations in my head constantly.
Right. I've been there.
Yeah, there was so much, what did I do? What if I do this? Would it have changed things?
Right, the bargaining. Those are the stages of grief, right?
Yeah.
Well, the bargaining. Maybe if I did this differently, maybe I could take him back. And that's why, on average, it's 7 times for someone to leave like an abusive relationship, because many of us have gone back or gotten wooed back or.
Exactly. Wooed back was the big one for me. But so that, you're going through all these thoughts and iterations and what's going to happen in my life. And, you just can't, the nervous energy is like palpable coming off of you, you know? And at that point, I was like, I got to do something with this energy. You know, I can't shut it off.
Right.
And I've always been a little ADD and hyper, but this was next level. I felt like I was on coke or completely, you know, crying my eyes out and felt
right. Our nervous system is in high alert.
It's just gone. So I just started researching what did I really want to do. And that's when I decided if I was going to go, I was going to get my master's. And if I was going to teach, I wanted to teach at either the high school or college level. So I switched things. I finished those classes that I needed to do. I applied for the Master's of Fine Art at WestConn, and I started going that route, and I was accepted. And thankfully, the divorce wasn't final, so it was written into the decree that he had to pay for the classes.
Oh, I tell all my clients to get that because I see over and over again, women who've been home for 10, 20 or more years are expected sometimes financially, like, well, you should be working. Like, even though they're the primary caregiver for the kids a lot of time. And how are they supposed to go step back into corporate America? Some of these, you know, family court professionals really think that a woman who's been out of the networking and you know, the latest skills, look at AI now, can suddenly be making $200,000-$300,000. Like, it's not realistic.
Exactly. My sister was impugned with about 50,000 at the time.
Yeah.
And, you know, she was struggling. She had 3 little kids at home. She didn't have, you know, her husband at home. And it was hard to find a job even making 50,000.
Right.
So, you know, the re-education, I think, is huge.
Yes.
And whatever it is, even if it's community classes, you know, to learn, you know, AI or learn social media or become a photographer like one of my good friends did. She started taking pictures for real estate. And reinvented herself in that way. And now does really well. So, you know, you just have to learn a new skill and be able to understand how to market yourself in that skill.
Absolutely. I think that's so true. And I think it's a warning to all women too, to, you know, keep your hand in something like you did a little bit in your marriage. You weren't totally out of it. Right. So how did you get off the teacher track? Like, you know, it's incredible what you've created. And I feel like words can't express the force you are in our town and our region. I mean, our town of Ridgefield, Connecticut was voted the first cultural district in the state. And Dee Dee has had a huge role in that. Everyone knows her in town. She's a philanthropist. She's, you know, adding so much vibrancy to our life here.
You're so sweet.
And you're right on Main Street. So, I mean, tell us.
We're very visible. So, but what happened was, as I finished up my master's again, I knew I didn't want to sit at home. I figured out that I didn't want to just paint, although I love to paint, and that's a great escape for me. But I didn't want to teach anymore. So I loved the way that my master's program was set up. It had individual studios that the artists could go into, and then we would have group and people would just walk around talking to each other, inspiring each other. And it was such a great environment that I'm like, we should have this outside of a school. And that's when I came up with the idea, well, let's do this. So let's have a business that looks at the artist in a 360 way, gives them a place to paint. They can take classes if they want, and also they can show their work and really get exposed to what it feels like to be out there and create and then try and sell your work. So that's what we did. And I'd say I had a co-founder who was actually in my master's program with me. And he came in and absolutely was great with helping me get everything set up. And we ended up, our pack that's where I am now. That's why you see people walking by. And they still have spaces. They still come in and create. We have art everywhere. They're allowed to sell off of the walls. And it's been really, really well received by the town. I really love it. And in that time, I was, going, I'm just faking it till I make it. I mean, in all honesty, Amy, I can't even tell you how true that was. It was like, what? I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm going to go out and I'm going to do this. And, I went so headlong into it. And I just took, I'm not going to say reason out because it had to make sense monetarily and be a good business idea, but any fear. If it was fear, that's the one thing I just couldn't deal with. And I would just, if I started to get doubt or fear, I'd just go, you know what? What's the worst thing that can happen? I've already been through something so horrible that if this fails, oh, well.
I think that's a great strategy for all you ladies listening, because it is scary, right? Sometimes women are starting a side hustle, which is their real passion project, but they have to keep that 9-to-5 job, and that's okay, right? Yeah. Sometimes, if financially you have to do that, but believe in yourself. I mean, so many stories. I had the authors of Midlife Private Parts, a book, co-authors on my podcast a few months ago. And, business owners in our age group are flourishing, right?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And this is really the time where every single thing you've been through is going to add to your experience of that reinvention. So whether it be that you planned birthday parties for your kids, there's steps to event planning, whether it be a religious ceremony event or, whether it be a small birthday party. Maybe event planning, maybe decoration. You've been, making a home for your kids for this whole time, and the love and the care that you put into all of those things that go along with having a home, like decorating. There's so many paths, and finding what brings you the most joy. For me, it was artwork and painting, but what finds you the most joy and just saying, okay, there's got to be something I can do with this.
Right. Because all the things you're describing, the stay-at-home mom, often her labor is not acknowledged. It's estimated at $200,000 or more. That's why I tell young women getting married, they should have a prenup or a postnup. They should get a salary that goes into an account for them if they decide to stay home with their kids. It's so wonderful to stay home with their kids. And you've known my careers over the years. I've always had something that was flexible so I could be there at the school for the event, but I was still working hard and bringing home a full-time income. I mean, you've got to do what you've got to do. But I think recognizing all of those skills are important. And
they are. And there's I kind of joke around in the fact that, I would love at this point a house husband, but I would give him a salary because you know what? It's not to be undervalued. I don't have a lot of time to keep up my garden and keep up my lawn and, change light bulbs in the house. So it'll be 3 weeks before a light bulb gets changed. I would love to have that. And it's valuable. Contribution is valuable. And I think so many women allow and think of it because they believe it, their partners to treat it like, oh, well, you're just staying at home. Or other women to be like, oh, well, you're not really doing a lot. You're doing a lot. You're organizing, you're managing, you're homeworking, you're
all the doctor's appointments, all the therapy, all the whatever.
Exactly. Everything is 100% on the stay-at-home person. And with a cooperative and wonderful partner. So, it really does fall to you. And that's so much value. So, I have a friend who loved to cook. And she would always get comments on the recipes. So she literally wrote a cookbook. Don't ever think that any skill that you've gained or the things that you love are not worth something to somebody, because they are. I
think that's so true. And I've seen the the bad end of the spectrum in the work I do, obviously, where the partners continue, male partners, husbands, going up the corporate ladder, earning a lot of money in these huge, either hedge fund or business or whatever it is. And, when divorce happens, they actually call the stay-at-home mom a gold digger or something like that. So,
exactly.
Look, that Belle Burden's memoir is out. It's been at the top of the New York Times bestseller list for several weeks now, called Strangers. And, she admits she came from a privileged background. It's not like she was going to be out on the street, but certainly it's a cautionary tale about how we as women are conditioned and told a lot of times, oh, just take one for the team, right? And give up our identity. And I think that's what makes your story, Dee Dee, so inspirational, is you truly turned lemons into lemonade. And I knew you during that time, right? That really hard time. And I've lived through that time myself. I know what it's like. And I think what you've done and the joy you exude is wonderful. And I have to say, you give back in so many ways. She allowed me to use her space, right, where the artists paint for my support group. Like you are that person who reaches back and helps other women.
Yeah. And, you're looking at me 10 years later, and that's one thing that I want to tell everybody out there. Believe me, I was not confident. I had no idea what my life was. I was literally faking it till I make it. And I was very broke. I went through a lot trying to understand what happened. And I was with a narcissist. It was, in my book, 100% narcissistic abuse. If he ever sees this, he'll deny it. But that being said, that's what I truly believe now at this point in my life. Mm-hmm. And it was extremely difficult. And I was all of those things you hear about. Confused. My brain was rewired to think it was all my fault. Mm-hmm. I was...
Right. Stop trusting your intuition, right? I feel like that's one of the most damaging parts of narcissistic abuse.
I had no idea which way was up. I really, at one point, thought that I was the narcissist and that I was the liar in the relationship, and the things that I did caused what happened to me. So I had to really go through quite a bit to get through that.
So what would you tell the woman, Dee Dee, who's sitting on her own couch, like, what's my first step? What do I do? What would you tell them?
I would say find whatever makes you happy, and do that for a while. So if you love animals, even if it's not a job yet, go volunteer at an animal shelter. Or, we have like Rising Star Rescue, which is a horse farm. Whatever, just go volunteer, because you getting into it and seeing it could lead to a job at
right. True. Yes.
So whether it be gardening, going and getting a job at a local nursery, if it's cooking, there's stores that sell cookery.
Right.
Not cookery. That's such the wrong word, but cooking utensils. Yes. Finding what makes you happy and being around it. Because any bit of joy that you can pull out of that time, especially when your kids aren't around or, your friends aren't around, if you don't have kids, finding anything that brings you joy during that is so important to keeping you going and keeping you moving. And it gets you off of the couch. And that's the most important thing, because sitting still is just not good.
So true. And I, thinking back to when I was in that situation, yes, helping other women and coaching was a huge part of it, but also writing. Like I kind of dusted off my journalistic skills, and I love writing. It's cathartic for me. When I don't have my son, that's my time to do the writing projects that I want to do. So thank you so much, Dee Dee. I want to move on to this segment we have here on Girl Wake Up. It's called Truth or Trap, right? Where I present a statement to you that might be a common assumption that people think, and just want your reaction. So some people say after divorce, you should have a fully mapped out plan so you can reinvent yourself. I mean, what would you say to that?
Oh, God, no. God, no. I mean, it'd be nice if that happened, but there's nothing that says that there's the right way to go.
Right.
And I think personalizing your experience and saying, okay, I'm going to go do this for a little while. Okay, that didn't really feel right. I want to try this. Or, you know, one of the things that I don't even know if you know this, like one of the hobbies that I picked up on top of the businesses, and just in the last 2 years has been line dancing.
Oh, really?
And yeah. And
you never cease to amaze me, Dee Dee.
Yeah. And as silly as that sounds, and as many people, you know, kind of make fun of me for going out and dancing in a line all night long at 20-year-olds or 70-year-olds, whichever, you know, it's good. It keeps me going. It keeps me active without my kids. It's so important to just look at your life as, you know what, you didn't expect this. You know, you didn't expect this divorce. You didn't plan on it, but it came anyway.
Right.
So actually saying to yourself and allowing yourself to take as crooked and as zigzag as a line as you need to figure out where you need to be, that's life. And it's beautiful. Right. And just go.
That's the journey, right? That's the healing journey. I say to clients all the time, I wish I could wave a magic wand, but it's going to be a long process, but you will get there. And I have, you know, most women, all the women I work with look back, even if they didn't want the divorce, and they say it was the best thing that happened to me. Because sometimes we're trying to stay for that, you know, perfect family we want for our kids, and we think our kids are going to be worse off. Look at your two amazing children that are doing just fine, you know? So I think once we realize that, we understand it was needed, perhaps, and an awakening, right?
Yeah. In my case, it was absolutely needed. And I did realize, as many women don't, or divorced people don't, how much of yourself you give up for that relationship. And I'm not saying I'll never give up, you know, or put part of myself or put that same effort into a relationship again, but I now know what it means to give up a part of yourself and be 100% in the relationship. There's a difference. And instead of being 100% in that relationship with him, I gave him 100%.
Yep. Yeah.
And that's a difference. And next time I'll know, you know, how to navigate it.
Right. No, I think that is excellent advice. Yeah. I have a listener letter here, and I'm looking at it and seeing that she touched on something you brought up earlier. She says, Dear Dee Dee, I got divorced at 52, and for the first time in years, I have some freedom, but I don't know what to do with it. I spent my whole marriage being the responsible one, raising the kids, managing the house, keeping everyone's schedule, putting my own interests last. Lately, I've been thinking about starting a small event planning business because I've always loved bringing people together, but I keep talking myself out of it. I worry I'm too old, it's too late, or that people will think I'm ridiculous for trying something new now. How do I stop shrinking back into my old role and actually give myself permission to build a bigger life? I'm wondering, like, to get off the couch, like, did you do meditations or affirmations, or what was your part of your trick?
I'd say nervousness and loneliness. Mm-hmm. Use those two things to push you forward. Mm-hmm. And those are great. They were great motivators for me. I did not want to just sit. However, the one thing that I do want to say to her is, you know, how do you get started? Like, go to your friends. Yeah. The people who are there for you will say, oh, well, you know, that sounds great. Let me use you for this. My one friend who became a photographer, she started with the 3D tours of homes because I let her come in and do a virtual gallery for me, you know, because she was like, I want to try this and I'm not sure. What do you think? And I'm like, come on, you know, so letting your friends also support you in that. and or family or, local going in and offering to do some things for free. I know that's hard when you need money, but doing those things for free and the word of mouth of people, when you do something for them, people naturally want to help you. So let them.
I think that's excellent advice, Dee Dee. And not only just your core friends, they could be married, right? But connect with other single moms, because I always say, like, I have a Facebook group, Strong Savvy Women, and now we have people from across the country, but I say around the holidays, for example, let's support other single moms. If I do PR on the side, if I have a client who needs a photographer, I'm going to give them the name of a single mom I know, right? Who's excellent, right? Like, let's support each other in this way. I think that's really important. But thank you so much for being here. I want people to check you out. Where can they find you? Your website.
So I have, of course, our Back Art Center, but I've gone kind of virtual with my gallery. So we've been doing art fairs around the country. We're in Miami in December, and I also now have a mobile gallery, and I just kind of drive around with it.
You were just in Arizona, right? Because every time I wanted to call you about the podcast, I would see on social media, oh my gosh, she's there now, and she's there, and she's there.
Yeah. So in that way, you can follow us on socials at deecolabellafiner.com and kind of find out where we are. I also have a very robust website if you're looking for any art.
Thank you, Dee Dee, for inspiring us. I know you inspire me every time I see you, and I know that your story is going to help some people get off the couch. So thank you.
And burn it after.
Yes. Thanks for listening to Girl Wake Up. I'm your host, Amy Polacco. If this episode woke something up in you, don't let it fade. Share it with a friend who needs to hear it, leave a review, and keep this conversation going. Remember, no one's coming to save you, so she did.